Well, we're going to go ahead and get started because we believe in starting on time and ending on time. But keep dropping your names and your work locations in the chat. We want to see you. Welcome to our very first PEIP of the school year. Today we are powering up with Pear Day. Thank you for joining us. Meet our lovely team. We have Miss Danielle Anthony, Miss Tracy Brown, Colleen Eccles, Shanine Brooks, Clarissa Simmons, Coy Chow Ham, and last but not least, me. I'm Katrika Neal, and we are so happy that you are here. All right. So we want to remind you very quickly. We know you've been doing this for a few months, but keep calm and follow our norms, please. I want you to hear.
All right. So a gentle reminder that you must remain in this session for at least 80% of the session time in order to receive full credit for attendance at eDoctrina.
All right, so this is what we have planned for you tonight. Our objectives: one, we would like to connect you with fellow colleagues so that you can self-assess yourself with your comfort level of using Pear Deck. We also want you to explore the Pear Deck platform and be able to know how to use it so that you can enhance instruction in your classroom. And then finally, we're going to give you some time to apply and practice using these Pear Deck features that we're going to talk about tonight and differentiated breakout rooms.
So we'll start with the connect. The connect is, what is your spirit animal? So we're thinking, what is my spirit animal? We do want you to actually log in. Hopefully, if you have additional device, I have my cell phone here, I'll do my Vanna White, and you would go to joinpd.com. And then when prompted, I'm pointing at the screen like you can see me. You will type in IUGENV, which the other Vanna is circling with the arrow around the top screen. So it's going to stay at the top corner of the screen for all the slides. That's one of the features of Pear Deck, which we will probably speak of when we get into the little breakout session. And then once you have logged in, you'll see this on your screen, on your other device as well as on the computer. And it's asking you, so when it comes to teaching in 2021, what is your spirit animal? What you would do is drag your little red dot using your other device, and you can place it wherever you feel. I'm gonna give you all a second to make your selection, and then my lovely Shanine will show us what the teacher screen kind of looks like so we can see all of the responses as they come in, but I'll give you a second.
As the teacher, I can monitor how many students in my class have responded by looking at the bottom of my toolbar and seeing 2 of 2 responses. So when I see that most of the class or all of the class has responded, I'm going to come over here on my toolbar and click Show Responses. That shows me where all the students in the class have put their dots. It seems like both students in my class are feeling a little bit stressed today. Now, that's an overlay of all the student responses on one image, but if I look up here, I see I have other options. I can do a grid layout that shows them one at a time, and I also have a list layout that allows me to scroll through. This view is helpful if there's really small text or if a student typed in their response and I wanted to see what they put, but with the dot, it's pretty easy to see where the students have placed themselves. Now, if a student moves their response while you're teaching, you'll be able to see that in real time. Notice this student now has their dot over Yes, I Can. Back to the overlay layout, you see that there's one of each option. If you want to prevent students from changing their answers while you're going over it whole class, you can just come down here and click Lock Screens. That'll keep the student answers locked in at whatever they selected before you show all of the answers. So now that I've locked the screen, no student is allowed to change their answer. That may be helpful to you given your purpose of what you were asking. All right, now that you're finished showing the responses, you go back to this button, you unclick Hide Responses, which goes back to the prompt, and then you use the arrows on the bottom to continue with the presentation as previously planned. Here's the overlay view from PEIP XP today. We had over 60 participants, so you can see there are a lot of red dots on this screen, but it gives the instructor a cross-section of how people are feeling. All right, so you know our agenda today was to connect, then explore, and then apply. So we're in our explore part, and we just want to look at Pear Deck a little bit and open your eyes to how you could use it in instruction. So let's dive in. Pear Deck is a tool. You're going to add it to a Google Slides presentation, and here's why. Because it makes your lessons interactive, and it provides opportunities for student collaboration and engagement. Students would open up their own device and interact with your slides in a way that they couldn't if you were just displaying it at the front of the screen. You as the teacher, you're going to control the participants' slides and the pacing of your lessons. So when you press the spacebar on your computer, it's going to advance the slide on every student's screen. Pear Deck is wonderful because you have access to a template library of slides that are already created for you that look beautiful that you can drop into your Google Slides presentation and use. These slides can promote critical thinking, social emotional learning, etc. So if you're thinking, wow, I don't even know where to start, don't worry, there's a template library there for you. As a teacher, Pear Deck allows you to keep a constant pulse check on your students in real time with questions. So if you normally ask questions out loud and call on 2 or 3 hands, you're only seeing what 2 or 3 students know. But with Pear Deck, you can ask a question and every student responds on his or her respective device. So you get a cross-section of the class of what students know. It helps you inform your instruction as you go. Now, something I like about Pear Deck is you can create a lesson and deliver it live in front of students, or you can create it in what's called student-paced version and post the link on your Google Classroom or your Canvas page, and students can access it at their own pace. That's great for a snow day. That's great for a long-term assignment. That's great for maybe asynchronous PD, even within your staff. So think about those options of live lessons versus asynchronous student-paced lessons. Pear Deck helps you with both. Now we have an intro video in the corner of this slide. It's only 1 minute long and it's from the Pear Deck company. And we're
excited to tell you that you can add the power of Pear Deck to Google Slides. Imagine if you could engage every student in your class. What if you could see instantly who's with you and who's struggling to keep up? That's the power of Pear Deck, a formative assessment tool designed by teachers and integrated with Google Classroom to support 100% student engagement. Pear Deck brings your slides to life with interactive questions that can be added to any presentation. We're making it easier than ever to bring the power of Pear Deck to your class. Start with Google Slides, get the Pear Deck Google Slides add-on, and add interactive questions or formative assessments throughout your slide deck. When you're ready, be sure to present with Pear Deck. Your students will join your Pear Deck session from any device with a web browser. Direct them to peardeck.com/join and enter the session code to begin. As you advance your slides, students will be prompted to answer your questions and their answers will appear on your teacher dashboard in real time. Answers can be displayed anonymously on the classroom projector. So instead of worrying about getting the right answer and feeling silly in front of peers, your students are putting ideas out there in a safe, anonymous way, discussing and learning from each other. And that's just the beginning of what you can do with Pear Deck and Google Slides. 100% student engagement is just a deck away.
Thank you, Colleen. Now we're going to move from our explore phase to our apply phase. So what we're going to do is we're going to put you into breakout rooms in a few moments because we want to make sure we're able to meet your individual needs, okay? So what's going to happen is you're going to have the option of considering yourself as a debut user, a rising user, or a frequent user. Now, what's the difference? If this is your Pear Deck debut, that means you've never used Pear Deck. Maybe you used it as a participant, but not as a facilitator, and you do not have the extension. You do not have the Google extension. If you are that debut user, then you're going to stay in the main room when we split into breakout rooms. Do not leave the main session. You are going to remain here because we're going to start from the bottom, but by the end, you'll be toward the top. Our other two groups, and when we move into the next slide, you'll see are our rising users or our frequent users. Our rising users, you already have the extension and you want to learn how to launch the platform, add Pear Deck slides to existing presentation, learn how to create new slides, see how the different interactive slides work. And then we have our frequent users. That means you've used Pear Deck before with some of your lessons. You already know how to add slides from our template. You can create slides or apply questions to current slides. You're almost a pro. You're going to get a chance to engage in dialogue, practice, and explore platform bells and whistles. And there'll be opportunities for you to do some troubleshooting and to collaborate with your colleagues, okay? So sign me up. The coolest thing is that you're going to have a chance to choose your own breakout room. Now, I just want to say nobody's necessarily the expert or the ultimate pro. We all have something to learn. Since COVID and distance learning, the platform has continuously been updated. So no judgment zone here. We're all here and ready to learn.
All right, so thank you, Danielle. You guys should be thinking about what room suits you the best. And when you do get in your room, once you've decided what's going to work best for you and your students, we do ask you to think about how you're going to use Pear Deck to meet the needs of your students in your class. We want to give you ample time to practice in your breakout rooms. You can also ask questions of our wonderful facilitators at that time. And then just start thinking about the aha moments that come up in your group experience. What is it that you really enjoy? What is something that you want to try maybe this week with your students in using Pear Deck?
Okay, so if you're a rising user, that means that this is going to be your first time ever using Pear Deck. So what I'd like you to do is open up a tab. You might have to minimize this Zoom presentation, and that's okay. Open up a tab, and I want you to go to your like Gmail, your PGCPS Gmail, because I need you to open up a Google Slides presentation. Let's see, if I go to google.com, I have something that looks like this. You see this waffle here in the upper right-hand corner? Click there, and then you would locate Slides. Slides has this yellow rectangle right here. You would want to open up a new Slides presentation. Click on Slides. And then once your slides loads, maybe you have a lot of slides, maybe you don't, but you're going to click on this plus sign down here to get a new one, to create a new presentation. There, click on that, and a new one will load. Okay, I see Gabrielle, Caitlin, Sinitria. I say ready, Dwayne, Lourdes, Monica. Okay, they're coming in fast now. I can't follow all these names. All right, we're ready. I love to see it. All right, I'm going to go back to my example over here, but you have your example ready on your screen. I'm going to demonstrate a skill, and then I want you to replicate it on your screen. So you're most likely listening to me because the Zoom tab is probably minimized, so you can't see my screen. You're probably listening to me. So at the very top, you're going to see words that say File, Edit, View, Insert, Format, Slide. Do you see those options that you have at the top of your toolbar on your slide presentation? I need you to keep going across to the right until you see add-ons. When you see add-ons, you're going to click on that word add-ons. The very first thing we need for Pear Deck is to get our Pear Deck add-on. So you're going to click on that word, a drop-down menu will appear. You're going to go down to where it says Get Add-ons. Click on Get Add-ons. Now, Pear Deck is a really popular add-on. And your computer knows that you're a teacher because you're signed in your PGCPS account. So Pear Deck is most likely on the top row of suggested add-ons for you. It has a yellow background, a green cartoonish pear. You're going to want to find that icon. Underneath it says Pear Deck for Google Slides, and you're going to want to click on it. On my computer, it already says it's installed because I've had it. But on your computer, there's going to be this blue button that says install. You're going to click install. Now, if yours is like mine and the only option you have says uninstall, that means you've already installed it before. Maybe you forgot about it. No problem. It's already there for you, so you don't have to do anything else. But if your blue button says install, then what you're going to need to do is follow the on-screen prompts that are going to ask you, like, do we have permission for this? Do we have permission for this? Yes, yes, yes. Permission for everything. You want to link your PGCPS email. At one of those on-screen prompts is going to ask you to link your email address. Make sure you select your professional email address. If you select your personal email address, you will not have the premium subscription that PGCPS pays for you to have. You will not have all the bells and whistles that I'm going to show you. So it's very important that you select your PGCPS email address. You also won't be able to link it to your Google Classroom. So it's very important that you select that professional email address. Continue following the on-screen prompts. And then it's going to show you that, oh, okay, it's installed. And it usually takes about 30 seconds to do so. All right, now I'm going to close out this window. And now I'm back to my Google Slides presentation. Now, maybe your Pear Deck is like mine, and Pear Deck is loaded as an option now on that toolbar up here. Now, all of a sudden, you have this pear icon with the word Pear Deck. That's a shortcut. Maybe you have that, maybe you don't. No matter what, you can always find Pear Deck under add-ons. Pear Deck is not what everyone needs that uses Google Slides. Really, teachers use it. So that's why it doesn't come preloaded on Google Slides. They're not going to use the bandwidth for it unless you actually need it. So you all are telling Google you actually need it because you're a teacher. So if you want to ever launch a Pear Deck, you have to go to add-ons, launch that drop-down menu, and then find Pear Deck for Google Slide add-on. Do that now. Make your screen look like my screen. Click on add-ons, and then Pear Deck for Google Slide add-ons will populate. Now you go across to open Pear Deck add-on. I'm going to pause here for a second so you can see my progression. Add-on, Pear Deck for Google Slide add-on from that drop-down menu. And then the slash option is open Pear Deck add-on. You got to click it. Now my screen is working. And now all of a sudden, I have this toolbar that populated on the right side of my screen that gives me all the options for adding Pear Deck to my slides presentation. Okay. Some people are still working on it, and that's fine. If anyone is completely lost, please put it in the chat because we will help you out. All right, I hope everyone just takes a deep breath in and a deep breath out because the hard part is done. Like the logistical, clerical piece of just trying to track down this add-on, that's behind us, okay? It's on your Google Slides. It's there forever. You add it one time, and no matter if you X this out and open it back up later or open up a new one, it'll always be there for you. So that's over and done. Whew. Okay, so now we get to the fun part. We get to the fun part of adding these slides to our presentation that we know we're going to use to teach. Okay, so you know your students best. I don't know your students. I've never met them in my life, okay? You know your students best. I'm going to show you some options that teachers have, but I need you to run that through your filter. Some things I show you might be a direct match to your students' needs. Other things I show you will not be a direct match, and that's okay. You run it through your filter and you figure out what would work best for the learning needs you have established for your group of students. Okay, so I see this option that I have on the right, this fancy little toolbar that I've never seen before in my life that now is populated here. And the first thing I notice is this large green button that is going to command your attention. You cannot start a Pear Deck lesson the normal way of pressing present up here. We're not doing that anymore. Get that habit out of your mind. That's not how you launch a Pear Deck lesson. That's how you launch a normal Google Slides presentation without Pear Deck. But the green button is how you start the lesson in Pear Deck. If anyone's taking notes right now, that's the note that you should star, underline, highlight. This green button is the new button for you to launch a lesson. Pear Deck will not work unless you launch it from this green button. Okay? It's so important. I'm going to say it like every 5 minutes that I'm with you.
The one that says starts lesson?
You got it. You got it, Victoria. That's what you have to press to start the lesson. Okay? Now let's keep that on the back burner because I'm not going to start a lesson yet. I'm going to add a few slides before I start a lesson, but at least we know it's there. Another thing I want to point out is this menu right here. The menu, I want you to require student logins because when you ask students questions, if you don't require student logins, their email addresses will not populate and you will not know which student is answering which question. Require student logins. I'm a middle school teacher. Sometimes kids think they're being silly and they put up nonsensical, dare I say, inappropriate answers because they think there's no matching it to who is the speaker. When you require student logins, you as the teacher can see which student submitted every single answer. Okay? So if anyone puts up anything silly, you can always find out who exactly made that change, okay? All right. I know all the middle school and high school teachers out there are nodding their heads saying, thank you, thank you. Okay, so we know that that menu exists. We've gone over 2 things so far. We know that this start lesson button is there when we need it. And also we know this 3 parallel line menu requires us, or we have the option to require student logins. Both very important details here. All right, once we get out of this, we'll look here, our template library. Here I have a Google slide presentation that's already created or at least started. It's what I'm teaching tomorrow. You see Thursday, December 2nd. I already know what my objective is. Students will examine the First Amendment and analyze its role in US society. I teach 8th grade US history. And on my warm-up, I say, warm-up will be on our Pear Deck today. So what you need to do is log into your Google Classroom and access the Pear Deck, that's linked under today's date. Now, I know what notes I'm going to give them. There are the notes. And if we can get to it, I'd love to get to this annotation of a passage if we can, but I know I need to give them these notes. I need a warm up in between the objective slide and the notes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to this ask students a question. And I need to think about what kind of question I want to ask them for the warm up. I'm going to say, what do you already know about the Bill of Rights? So let me click on a new slide. What do you already know about the Bill of Rights? And then I'm going to click on text, and it's going to allow students to type directly their answers directly onto that slide. See this bar that populated at the bottom that appears right here? That's a magic bar. You can't delete that and Pear Deck still work. That actually, it looks cute, but it's actually code. And if the code's not there, then the students won't have the opportunity to type directly on their slide. So that slide is going to be our warm-up slide. What do you already know about the Bill of Rights? And I can even say, type your answer here. Or I can give them a sentence starter. I already know. Sentence starters are often helpful when students have to craft their own responses. Now, next, I'm going to have some notes. There's no interaction that I need from that slide. So I'm going to choose not to have them interact with that slide. I'm going to insert a slide after. That's a check for understanding. Now, for a check for understanding slide, I want something cute and I want to see what options are out there. So I'm going to click on this that says template library. There is pre-made content. You do not need to reinvent the wheel. There are already slides made that you can just drag into this presentation. Okay. So I'm going to pause here. You have this up on your screen. And just to clarify, I clicked on our template library. See this? It has a little icon of a bookshelf. And look at all these options that populate. I'm going to pause here. I'm going to put about maybe a minute on my timer. I want you to explore all these ideas. And I want you to come back after this minute and a half. And I want you to recommend a slide that you think would fit well for a check for understanding. What do you think? What do you think I could put after my notes slide? And there's no one correct answer to this. There's so many things that I could do. It's almost so hard to choose. All right, that's my timer. All right, is anyone brave enough to unmute and tell me something that I could drag into this lesson as a check for understanding after my notes?
Draw or type 2 things you already know about today's topic.
Ooh, all right. I see Mr. Davis.
From the question that you posed. What do you know about the Bill of Rights?
Okay.
Colleen, I think he was under beginning of lesson. Third
Under
slide.
beginning of lesson. Okay. Oh, I see it. Okay, so thank you, Shanine. So this one, draw or type 2 things you already know about today's topic. So I could drag that in. I could double click it, and it takes a second. You see working here. All of a sudden, you're going to see that thumbnail populate on this left-hand side of my thumbnails.
So we just double click to add it to our slides, right?
Yes.
Okay, great.
And whichever slide was previously highlighted, it'll put it underneath.
Great, thank you.
Now, let's say I don't like the way that's phrased. Like, instead of saying today's topic, I'm going to put the Bill of Rights because I know what the topic is. You can adjust anything like that. You can adjust this. You can adjust number 2, like if you wanted to say A or B, or if you wanted to compare 2 things. If you're talking about photosynthesis and you want phase 1, phase 2, any of these you can manipulate. That's what I love about them. Not only are they there for you, but you can personalize them once you drag it in your presentation. Love it. Okay, anybody have a different direction they would have gone? Thank you. Thank you, Dwayne. I appreciate you. Anybody have something else that they would add? We're building our lesson here. What did you all see that caught your interest that you think I could add?
So after you talked about the Bill of Rights, which is now your slide 4, I would have tried to add like a true or false question that's under the during the lesson tab.
Okay, I'm going to click on during the lesson. Thank you, Caitlin. And let's see. Ooh, is this statement true or false? Okay, so look on the left-hand side. See how my Bill of Rights slide 4 is highlighted? When I click on this true or false slide, it'll populate underneath that. It'll be the new slide 5. So it's whatever slide is highlighted. When you double click, there you go. All right. Now, great suggestion. This is like a little check for understanding. I would want to rewrite this. I'd say true or false. The Bill of Rights was always part of the Constitution. And then I'll see what the students say. Now, let's say I want to ask back-to-back true or false questions. I can duplicate it. I just duplicated the slide I already had, and now I can change this question. So I'll do a little check for understanding. Awesome, great suggestion.
I just have a question. Will each student's response be recorded? Like, we can always populate it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
When you share it as a teacher, the names will be removed. So you won't immediately see it that you're displaying on your screen, or I'm assuming you're doing this in real time. But the thing about requiring them to log in with their email is you as a teacher get a copy of what every student populated. And once you close the presentation, every single student gets a copy of his or her individual responses as well in their email as their receipt of what they said. You get a copy, they get a copy. All right. As you were exploring, now I told you I taught 8th grade, but I want to point out something here. Do you see this little section? Sometimes people say, oh, Pear Deck is only for the big kids. Absolutely not. Look at our work with CVC words, word building, phonics combination. And remember, all of those, you can change the image, you can change the letters for the whatever CVC words you're working on if you teach kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade. Circle the items that start with B. If I'm a speech pathologist and I'm trying to work on a sound, or if I'm teaching phonics, I could change any of those images to be whatever skill I'm trying to teach. A drawing slide for after they're reading a story, or even drawing out your 10 frames in math. Coloring them yellow. Oh, there we go. There's a 10 frame for you. You can use that as a 10 frame in math. When we talk about operations, making equations, fact families for math, all of these slides lend themselves well for K through 2. Which one doesn't belong? Graphing in math starting in grade 2, 3, and 4. All of these slides are for you if you teach early elementary. Wow, and look, to be honest, I haven't used Pear Deck in about a month, and look at all these new options. There's definitely some new options here. This program is constantly being updated. All right, I'm gonna click out of that littles. Now, what if you say, oh, I don't teach littles, but I teach other topics? There are some slides here that might serve your needs if you teach these subjects. English language arts, and there's accent letters, different ideas of how you can do drag and drop for vocabulary building. All right. I want to pause here. There's no shortage of ways that you can explore and use your time. I'm looking at our clock and we have 5 more minutes. So the last thing that I want to show you, I'm going to click back, is this detail right here, add audio to slide. The number one question I get when I'm working with teachers is, how can I support the needs of my emerging readers or my English language learners for English as speakers of other languages? And I love this option to add audio to your slide. The teacher would be the one to add it. The students would be the one that listen to it, okay? There's no feature in Pear Deck right now where students record themselves. That doesn't exist. Hey, maybe next month, who knows? But let's say I'm on this slide, number 7, and I want to read this poem out loud so that students have the option to listen to it when they come to this slide. I would go over here. I'm still on my toolbar here on the right. I would click add audio to slide. So whatever slide I have highlighted, that's slide 7, the recording is gonna be posted to. So you see the numbers here. It just shows me how long the recording is. So let's see. Amanda Gorman, The Hill We Climb. We will rise from the gold-limbed hills of the West. We will rise from the windswept Northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked South. All right, you see, and so on and so forth. I press pause. I can either resume, delete, or click done, okay? I'm gonna click done. If I was actually doing this for real, I would read the whole poem. Now, it lets you play it before you add it to the slide. So if you're like, let me listen to it and see how it sounds, make sure my enunciation is how I want it to be. So you can play it back, you can adjust the volume, and then if you want to re-record, you have that option. Or if you're like, no, that's good, you just click save audio to slide. See this option right here, save audio to slide. It'll say add to the current slide. Yes. Now it takes a second, but look, you have this option right here. Audio included, click the headphones to listen. When the students have it on their screen, there's going to be a headphone icon that they can click on if they want to hear the audio. They don't have to click on it. It doesn't automatically start playing when students arrive at that slide. It's only if they want it. So I love that for differentiation. You have it there. They use it if they need it. They don't use it if they don't need it / want it. It's there for them. All right. This was the basic group. So I covered some basic features of Pear Deck. Now, if I'm ready to launch the lesson, what do I do? Do I click present? How do I launch this lesson? Who knows?
The green button, start lesson.
Yes, Miss Gregory. Let me hear someone else say it besides Miss Gregory. How do I start this lesson?
The green button that says start lesson.
Yes, Caitlin. All right. So here we are. I'm going to click start lesson. And it takes a second, okay? It takes a second. Has to go all the way to space and come back. So we'll give it to him. It's going to say, do you want this posted on Google Classroom and kids go through it at their own pace, like over 2 days, 5 days, a week, who knows? Or is this like during class time when you're delivering it in real time? I'm going to click in real time because that's the most common. It takes a second. We're going to start a new session. It's going to say, is this your email address that you want to use? So you see how there's some on-screen prompts here. You should do this before students walk into your room. I'm going to click my PGCPS email. And this would be a good time for me to turn on my projector so that all the students in my class can see it, because the next thing that's going to come up is a code. Okay, so this is going to populate on your screen. joinpd.com, IMMNIP. Anyone who wants this user experience, we have 2 more minutes. Feel free to go to joinpd.com if you want to see what it looks like from the side of the student. You're more than welcome to join. I'm noticing this detail down here, invite class. If you want to link this to your Google Classroom, that's how you get that. It'll bring up your Google Classrooms. If you want to just put the link in a chat, you can get the link from here. And if you want to invite a co-teacher, you can open the teacher dashboard and send a different link, a VIP link, to your co-teacher. All right, I've got 3 students connected, and I've got like 30 seconds left in this breakout room. So when I move my screen, notice students, your screen is also moving. And I'm going to stop on this one. True. Oh, let me pick a true or false, because that's probably easier. True or false? The Bill of Rights was always part of the Constitution. So students, go ahead and notice there's an option for you in the lower right. Right now I have no responses. Oh, now I have 1 of my 6 students have responded. 2 of my 6 students. This helps me use my wait time, right? And if I want to see their responses, I click show responses. True is the most common answer. Now, as I have this up, more students are answering. Notice it adjusts in real time. So that bar graph is going to adjust in real time. The answer is true. 5 of you got true. You are correct. It was controversial. Not everybody agreed to it. Now I'm going to click hide responses. All right, and I think I have like 2 more seconds in this breakout room. Thank you all.
The easiest way is to take advantage of using the template library. When you open your library, you're going to notice that there are lesson builders for the beginning of the lesson, during lesson, end of lesson. You're going to see some critical thinking and social and emotional learning slides, and then some specific slides for each content area that's listed. And we're going to look at a few of them. So this is cool, something really neat to explore. I'm going to do this simultaneously while explaining the different types of interactive slides that they have available. So the first one, and the most simple, is a text slide. So let's see. So I'm going to let me show you how easy it is, guys. So you can all see the side, right? You see my sidebar? Just quick thumbs up. Great. I'll click on the slide that I want. I pause and wait patiently. And boom, that slide has been added to my Google Slides. Right now, I'm going to show you what it looks like for the teacher, and then we'll all go back and look at what it looks like for the student. As the teacher, I know that I have successfully added my slide because it says the little Pear at the bottom, and it says students write your response. Now, here's the cool thing. I may not want to use the slide exactly as it is. I just like the little person here that looks like she's thinking. So I can edit any slide that I add to my Google Classroom or Google Slides. So right here it says, what did you learn from homework? But I would prefer to say, what did you learn about, what did you learn about your ABCs? Right? It doesn't matter. What did you learn about the Civil War? What did you learn about how to follow a procedure? Whatever it is, you can always change the question. Additionally, the same way you add slides for a general Google presentation, I could do the same thing here. If I wanted to add a picture, the same way I add a picture for my Google Slides, I can add it onto a Pear Deck slide as well. So I can go back and add a picture if I wanted. If I wanted 2 questions, I can add my second question here. And because it's a text box, the students will have a box and they will write their response. The next example is a drawing slide. And again, I'm in my template library. I just click on it, wait patiently, and boom, voila, it will appear in my Google Slides. You'll notice that this one says students draw anywhere on the slide. Their screen is going to look a little different from yours. They'll still see draw 2 things you already know about today's topic. Again, as the teacher, you can go back and change that. 2 things. Oh, give me your highs and lows from Thanksgiving break. You can always go in and make changes and edit any slide, right? And then what your students will do is they're going to have the option. They can click a T if they want to type, or they can click a paintbrush or a pencil. The fun thing is that students get to pick their favorite color. Give me 1 second. Okay, so students can go, they can pick a paintbrush, a pen or pencil, or they can click the T and actually type. In a moment, I'm going to show you exactly how that looks for the student, but that is a drawing slide. There are 2 or 3 other types of slides, and I'm just going to add them here for you guys to see. The next one, if you notice on the side, it tells you what type of slide it is. This one is a draggable slide. So this is what you did earlier today where you had that little red dot and you got a chance to move the dot into the place that best reflected how you felt. The same thing applies here. Now, what's really cool, if we have time, I'll show you how to do it, is there are pre-made draggable slides where it comes with a little circle or a square or an arrow. But if you create your own, then you can pick the icon that the students will move. And there are different things you can do with that. They can match. You can put a check sign, a check if it's true, and X if it's false. And you can have them move the icon to the actual statement. So I will show you how to do that. I'm hoping that time permits. So far, I've just shown you how to add 3 different slides from our library. I showed you a text slide, I showed you a drawing slide, and a draggable slide. I am going to show you 2 more before I give you guys a chance to practice. And your opportunity to practice is very important to me. I do recommend that you take a look at the different content area slides because there's some really cool slides that you can use. But again, you can borrow from the ideas and change the text if you want to. Okay, so that's just an example of a another draggable slide. But if you notice, the icon is a compass, which is different from the circle that you guys had before. Okay, so I'm going to pause for 30 seconds to see if there are any questions on what we did so far. We've got to always check to make for understanding, make sure I'm not moving too fast. Take a look at my sidebar for a moment. I'm just going to click the back button, but if ever I get lost, I can always go back to add-ons, open Pear Deck, and it'll start me back from the beginning. I'm just going to press back. Notice that there are other types of questions you can add. Let's say you already have a PowerPoint presentation completed and ready to go. You just want to make your presentation interactive. How do I do that? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put, okay, what is 2 plus 2? What is 2 plus 2? But I want my students to answer the question. In this case, it's going to be a number. So I'm going to click where it says ask students a question on the side. I'm going to click number. And what you'll see in just a moment is that students are going to have to write their number. And they won't be able to add any letters to answer that question. They'll have to do a number. If I want to give students a multiple choice question, let me show you what that is going to look like. So I'm just going to put multiple choice here. Multiple choice question. What's your favorite, because I'm still thinking about Thanksgiving food. It's important though, there are two parts to this. There's what you want presented on your slide, and then there's what your students are going to see. So part A, what's going to be presented on your slide. So I want to make sure here I put A. I don't have to, but it's an option. I might put turkey. I was going to put spaghetti. Turkey, mashed potatoes, and give me one more. I'll just put greens, whatever kind of greens you like, right? Or pie, because I'm a big dessert person. Now, this is my slide, because remember, I already had my presentation ready to go. I just want to make it interactive now. If you notice on my sidebar, what I'm going to do now is click on choice. That's going to give me the opportunity to make this current slide a multiple choice slide. On my screen, I now see where it says multiple choice slide options, and I have to insert the choices. So I want to make sure the choices here align to the choices I have on my screen. So I'm going to put turkey, mashed potatoes, which, am I spelling that correctly? Please, no judgment. Greens. And then notice it has A, B, and C, but I have 4 options. So I'm just going to simply click add another, boom, and now I can put pie. If I had another option, I could put add another, and I can keep going. And then it's important that you click update slide. Now you're going to want to know, how do I know that my students can see the multiple choice responses? Notice what you see at the bottom of my screen is that beautiful green pear, and it says A, B, C. That lets me know this is a multiple choice option. Thumbs up if you're with me. And we're going to get more complicated in a moment. Okay, something that's simple, and then I'm going to let you guys practice in a moment. Let me do my time check. Simple is a website. If you want them to go to a website, for example, pgcps.org, you just simply click website and you type in the site where you want students to go. And I believe you could even do sometimes a search option. pgcps.org. You'll know if it's the correct site because it should pop up, bam. So I know I have the right website. I click update slide, I move on. And now I hope you're ready, because I'm going to show you 2 more complicated options. And then I'm going to turn it over to you in a moment to practice, okay? And you can practice with a blank slide like I did, or you can pull up a lesson you already have to practice. The drawing slide, that's actually pretty simple. You don't have to see that. I want to show you the draggable slide. When I click draggable, it is going to give me the options of creating my icons. Notice it starts with a red dot. Okay, but when I click on the drop down or the caret, it gives me options. I can do stars. I can do thumbs up or thumbs down. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a thumbs up. I want to add another one. I'm going to add 4 more so that I have 5 total. But I don't want them all to say thumbs up. I want a few to say thumbs down. And notice my other options. I have math symbols. So you might ask, what is the correct operation? And students could put the plus sign, the divide sign, multiply or subtract. I have numbers, so they can answer 1 through 9. And then you have little people, houses, smiley faces, of course, a pair for Pear Deck. You have different options. In the one example, there was a compass. So I'm just going to put the compass there. What's important with this particular slide is that you have the option to make sure your your icons are large or tiny. So it's going to be important that you adjust the size of your item depending on what you want students to do. So I'm going to update my slide. I'm going to add a picture, and I'm going to just search the web, and I'm going to do map of Caribbean. I always do that wrong. Okay, map of Caribbean. And the reason why this is my picture, because I'm going to say put a thumbs up if it's a place you travel to, a thumbs down if it's a place you've never traveled to, haven't visited, and a compass of where you would like to go next, right? I would find a place to put my directions and go from there. This is what I'm going to do right now. And I don't see any questions in the chat. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you what each of these slides look like from the student perspective. I'm going to show you what happens when I end the slide. And then I'm going to give the remaining 15 minutes over to you to give you a chance to practice so we can problem solve. And I know I heard Miss Shelly say earlier, she hasn't been able to do it. So I want to make sure you guys are able to figure this out before you leave our breakout room, if possible. So what do you do? What do you do when it's time? And I see a hand raised. Give me one moment, Miss Olu, and I'll be with you in one moment. What you're going to do when it's actually time to present, if you click present up here, then all you're doing is presenting your Google Slides. You're not presenting Pear Deck. Okay, you have to make sure you actually have the Pear Deck open, and you have to click start lesson where you see the green pear. That is where you're going to start your lesson. Once you click start lesson, you're going to have the option to do student pace, which means that you're going to just give your students a link and they can complete it within the time allotted, or instructor pace. We're going to do instructor pace. Olu, Kimmy, you had your hand raised. You can go ahead and unmute, or you can post it in the chat.
Just I was following you. I think you were a little bit fast for me.
Okay.
I want to know where you got all those templates by the side from.
Okay, great question. So I'm going to go back for you, and I'm going to minimize that for me. So when you first open your add-ons, it says our template library. And when you click on that, it gives you many options. Just take your time and search through them. In fact, during our practice time, you can open each one and look at every single slide if you would like. And then I'm going to have you guys practice inserting the slides into your Google Classroom.
Okay.
All right, so for a brief moment, it's 5:08. Oh, it's 5:08. So what I'm going to do, I want to show you how to actually present your Pear Deck. It's always going to ask you to verify. So you verify a lot of emails up. Once you do that, as the instructor, this is going to be your first page. This is important. Notice that it gives students a code. So students can go to joinpd.com and type in the code ETBQSB, and that's fine. The easiest way, if they are on Zoom, is for you to click the button that says give students a link. When you click give students a link, it will copy for you, and you can take it to the chat and post it in the chat. So I am going to ask you guys to click on this link for me and to very, very quickly join our Pear Deck. As the instructor, you're going to start the class. When you start the class, other participants can still continue to join with no problem. Here's what I want you to notice. When I move my screen, your screen moves as well. At any time during the presentation, I can click the three buttons at the right bottom of my screen, and I can turn on student pace. When I turn on student pace in the middle of a presentation, you guys, when I move my screen, your screen won't move, but you guys can go back and forth. Why don't you go ahead and try that real quick? Move back and forth. The moment I click stop student pace, you guys, your screen will automatically go to where my screen is. And you will no longer be in student pace mode, okay? All right, so we only have 9 more minutes in our group. The time has gone really fast. There's so much I wanna show you, but I wanna give you a chance to actually practice. So this is what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to show you what happens when I end the session, and then we'll use the remaining 8 minutes to have you guys actually go in, pull up your Google Slides, and I will walk you through it the best that I can. There's several experts here to help you with starting your own Pear Deck. When you end the presentation, it is important that if you want to save the responses, that you actually type in a session. So for me, I'm going to put Pear Deck practice. And then I click save and end session. Notice that there's something new. It lets me reflect and review. So I can share it directly to a Google Classroom. I can generate takeaways, or I can just copy the link and share it with students. Any students who have answered the questions in your Pear Deck will be able to get a copy of their responses. So I'm going to pause right there. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask your questions, and we're going to use this time for you guys to try it yourself. And you can put your answers in the chat.
Well, I did wanted to ask, now that we're on where it says the teacher has ended this session.
Oh yeah.
So I just go up to the plus sign and open a new window and go back to my Google Slides to start messing around with it?
Yep, go to your Google Slides.
Okay.
And while you do that, I'm gonna go to peardeck.com. So the other way to get to Pear Deck is to go to peardeck.com, and that's where your dashboard is. So you see how I ended that session? Let's say, man, I didn't mean to end that session. Anything that I've presented through Pear Deck is going to be on the dashboard, right? So I want to reopen that session. I can go to my dashboard, click on my sessions, find the session I'm referring to. In this case, it's Pear Deck practice. That's why it's important that you name it, and I'm going to reopen the session. So now you guys can go back through the session. And I'm just playing around with the link where I created the icons, because I'm just showing you how simple that was. I added a picture, added my icons. I want to go back to Jamaica. So I'm assuming that everyone is playing around with the template library or playing around with adding your own slides. So I'm going to respect this work time, but just unmute your mic or type in the chat if you have a question. Screen, because I'll show you from a student perspective.
Okay.
So if you look now for the teacher, this is what it looks like on the teacher screen. And then this is what it'll look like for the students. They can type their response. This is how it'll look. Now, as a teacher, I'm going to scroll at the bottom where it says show responses, and then I'll be able to see what students have written. Notice during this point, it is anonymous. You cannot see what students actually wrote specific students wrote until the end when you save your presentation, or unless you open your dashboard. All right, so I'm gonna move quickly. This is the one where students who could draw. This is what it looks like for students. They have their pencil, the highlighter, they can pick their color, or they can click on the T and start typing. They can go back and erase, but you know, they love to play with the different colors. Food is what we like. They could type it or they can write it. Again, the instructor will go back and click show responses. When the teacher clicks show responses, they can see one at a time, or they can put it in grid layout so you can see multiple responses at once, or they can do overlay. Overlay is good if it's a matching activity or something like that, and you want to see that everybody choose the same way, same direction. Did they put their thumbs up in the correct place? Otherwise, you would keep it as a list or as a grid. This is an example of where students move the dot. In this case, they move the compass. So which hemisphere is experiencing winter? Boom. Okay, this is the one where students could only write a number. If I try to type in a letter other than E, it won't work. And I don't know if E means error or what, but I can only type in a number. I think our time is about up. This is multiple choice. So notice that students can choose a multiple choice. They can only pick one answer. Unfortunately, they cannot do all that applies.
We have about a minute and a half left.
Thank you. I'm looking at the question. If I already have Google Slides created and I want to put a slide over them with Pear Deck. Oh, your video, your hyperlinks do work in Pear Deck. So I love Pear Deck for that reason. Let's say I have a Jamboard embedded in my Google Slides and I present my Google Slides with Pear Deck. Your students will be able to go right to that link, click on it, and then have access to your Pear Deck. You do not need to take the links out. Thank you, Dawn.
And I have a quick question. Do students have this in their in Clever? They have access to Pear Deck?
No, what happens is the teacher, you could put it, you take the link and you will put the link in their Google Classroom. Or if you're using Canvas now, you would post it in Canvas. But this links directly with Google Classroom. Remember when I clicked end, it says share to Google Classroom. When I do that, it lets me choose which class I want to share it with. And then it takes you into your Google Classroom. Okay, we have to leave our breakout room soon. They're pulling us out. I hope I've answered most of your questions. I tried to show you as much as I could. But you know, we're always available after the session as well. So feel free to email us or ask us any questions. And this slide was just the one that where we put the website and it took students to the actual website. Any last questions before we close and go back into our regular room?
But we are ready to do our big choosy debrief. Before we get you out of here, okay, this is what I want you to do. First thing I want you to do is, if you know how to take a screenshot, do that, okay? Because we are giving this away to you for free 99. This is one of the best teaching strategies that you could use to close your lesson. All right, so for the big choosy debrief, you are going to choose one of these and you are going to answer in the chat. Let me see. What do we have? Let me see. I found value in exploring the site. Thank you, Miss Blocker. So did I. Someone chose number 5. She says, how do I collect data or a summary of my results? Of your responses? Oh, you're going to come back and you're going to join our frequent room. That is great. A great question. Also, if you Google it, there's a YouTube video that tells you and shows you how to do that very quickly. Very good question.
I also posted the Pear Deck handbook. So it has everything you need from A to Z, and it has a table of contents that to find some information as well.
Come on, Miss Anthony. Look at that. Who knew that there was a Pear Deck handbook? Katrina didn't. Okay. Miss Bernice said, I plan on using audio on my slides. Did you know that? Did you know that you could record yourself providing instructions to your students? Click it, upload it to Pear Deck, and if they needed directions for homework and they didn't remember what you said in class that day, they could just click that audio button and listen to it again and then get started. I love Pear Deck. Somebody said, I found value in using Pear Deck to jazz up my model lessons. Come on, model lesson. I'm going to read one more. Let me scroll down. Oh, somebody says, please reshare the handbook link because they want it. Miss Anthony, help them out. Pear Deck can transform my instruction by engaging my students even more. Pow! I like all those responses. You all are the bomb.
All right. Thank you for joining us today. The learning doesn't stop here. Us mentors, we also organize PEIP 2.0 every month. So you can see our dates here. December 15th is going to be our next session. So if this intrigued you, if you loved learning in this format, we want to invite you to come out to PEIP 2.0 as well. And the eDoctrina course ID is there to help you sign up using eDoctrina. And PEIP 2.0 is for everyone in the whole county. PEIP XP is only for novice teachers new to Prince George's County Public Schools. So if you're wondering, like, what's the difference between the two? It's a much smaller crowd and a much smaller format. So we want to invite you to come out next month. We always present the first Wednesday of every month, and it's always 4:30 to 5:30. So the next time we get together is going to be January 5th. I love the people in my group. I love the people in the first session. I really want to see you come out next time too, because we're forming our own little professional learning community here. And the flyer for is dropped in the chat. And then the very last thing we want to say to you is thank you. Thank you for taking time after a long workday to join us. You invested in yourself in this way. You're growing as a professional, and we couldn't be more proud to accompany you on your journey. So thank you very much.